Okay, so I wanted to take you through these different foot designs that I've had over the years to kind of jump you into the new one that I just finally got to what I would call perfect. Now, I figured this is a good time to kind of go through these because I did this before with the first ones that I actually, which were these. These are the first ones that I actually was able to wear. Now this one, let me turn it this way so that you get the whole thing. So now this one, this was the first one I made. I made this one in the summer of 2014, and I think I mentioned it maybe a couple of times even. This one hurt instantly. This material is nylon, right? So this material is, it isn't really the material. It was my, you can see that this is a much lower resolution of design specificity. You see, like that. You can see just that edge there. That used to eat my feet, my toes alive. As soon as I only wore this literally for about 10 minutes, and it was hurting after 30 seconds, but the other 10 minutes was just out of pure awe that it even existed. But it did get across some basics, like here where the heel is. This goes across the top of the front of the ankle area, right? This goes across the midfoot, and then you see here 3 distinct pieces: heel, midfoot, forefoot. This was important because at the time, I realized that early on, and I wrote an article about this, that the foot, that shoes are some kind of magic spell that closes down parts of the mind. This flat surface that the foot is strapped onto, it limits the mobility of this part of the body, right? It's a kind of spell in my mind. That's not true. That's a mythology I created to create an antithesis to it, right? So from the beginning, it was always about separating those 3 so that they had so that they could move more freely. This one kind of did it, kind of, and I never actually wore it outside because it hurt so bad. This alludes to something that could stretch or move, but it didn't really move or stretch very well. It was, and also this design allowed me to print it with my tiny little printer, right? Because each piece had to be less than 140 millimeters, which was the size of my printer, right? So then in the summer of 2015, I think it was, yes, it was April of 2015. I made these. I'd moved to Detroit the previous fall, and spent the winter there. And then in the spring, I made this. Now, you'll note that there is that same that this is the same part there that goes across the top of the ankle. There is that flexibility of midfoot. This one is the one that I trained my feet with. You see, here this was supposed to be toe sleeves, but I didn't have a proper mental modeling logic for how to make sleeves for my toes. That was one step too far for my mind, right? So at that time, I just kind of measured my toes and made these. And so these were always supposed to be conductive so that I could turn them into sensors. Same thing, let's see here. You see here, there, and there. Let me put it down. I'm going to make a gimbal for this camera this week so that I don't have to hold it like this all the time. But you can see you see there, in the toes, see how there are places for sensors there. These aren't sensors. This never actually got sensors. I really just wanted to see if I just wanted to understand the durability of the material. This is TPU. This is soft. You see? Let me wait a second, sorry. There we go. So this is soft. And it took a really long time for this to get to this level of wear. You see that? See? It took a long time. I wore these for like 3 or 4 years. You know, I wore these on multiple continents. And the best part about designing my own footwear, and that's footwear, W-A-R-E, not W-E-A-R. This is, we'll get into those aspects in just a second. But this was the one that I wore to train my feet, because with this one, see, because with this, there was the bending of the foot was built in. You see, so it wasn't flat at all from day one. In fact, the first 6 months of wearing this, my feet hurt every single day. Imagine limping on both feet. Waking up and limping on both feet. That's what these did. But I also got a chance through that pain to refine my design process, right? I use pain as part of the design process. These, you know, that's why this is here, because this little piece scratched, you know, a blister into my ankle. Boom, put that there, problem solved. This side, it didn't even touch, you see? And this is nylon. The thing about nylon that's nice is that it absorbs water. So if you can use fabric dye to dye nylon, and it makes this really beautiful color. Let's see. Let's just, you see there, really beautiful, the way that it soaks in, right? So that was that. But then in the last couple of years, as you know, I got into my exo mesh. Now the thing is, the exo mesh one came from, this is the exo mesh one. So I already took it apart because that's a thing I do now. Now I don't keep artifacts the way that I used to, you see. Like designs like, say, oh, that's too bright. Let's go here. You see, designs like these, I don't make designs like these anymore, because you see, I can't repurpose these pieces. These pieces are specific to this design, so they are artifacts, and that's great. I like being able to have them here. Same thing with that one as well, you see. But we can look over here. This is a whole other game for another time. But actually, let me just get it. Okay. So you can see. Let's just put this on here real quick. So you can see this is one. So this is one hand. And let's grab. Let's see here. I can get it off the wall. Okay. So these two are conducive to each other. They were of similar eras. There's a lot of what this is in this one, right? You can see, like, let's see here. So you can see the adjustability of the fingers, the knuckle sensing, the downward motion here for triggering the sensors on top of the knuckles, the thumb mechanism and how it's angled, bracing, you know, that kind of thing. There was a lot, you know, so that is specific, right? Same thing with this. This is specific, whereas this, the only pieces of this mesh that are specific is that and that knuckle. But that knuckle, I can put that anywhere on my body. This piece, I can put that anywhere on my body. And you can see here, this, let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. You can see, this is all mesh. Everything snaps together, right? So if I take this completely apart, there is nothing that looks like a hand or a glove. It breaks down to, get these out of the way, it breaks down to this, which is the mesh, right? Which I am going to start calling body logic. Mesh is just it's it's all body logic. We'll get to that at another time. But you can see here, this is all made up of mesh pieces, and you saw the previous mesh feet that I had. They were made up. This was the sole. Now these, they never got to sensing either, but I used these points to ground my feet to the earth. See, I put some coins in there eventually because I was breaking the sensor. See, I need to I test things, so you can see where that was coming through. And see here, these were perfect because I never really put weight on my midfoot. I kind of balance on my forefoot now from the practice that I got with these, right? And the heel as well. I had to get a little practice in there as well, and I had to put a lot of padding there because of the way my foot was landing. And you can see here on the bottom the wear pattern. See? It's like it really held up well. This is all TPU. There's very little nylon in this design. You know, these pieces and these blue pieces here are all nylon, you know, for structure. But everything else is mesh, right? So that was the last one. And so this one was the one that showed me a lot of really interesting stuff, which I meditated on. That's what I do. I wear it, and then I meditate on where does it hurt, where does it feel good, why does it feel good, what am I trying to do with my feet, where am I trying to go, you know, walking around in, say, water, climbing shit. I've been climbing a lot of things because this pattern, it's like gecko feet. You see, I can climb almost anything that isn't ice. Ice is the kryptonite of this design. I can't, you know, ice is just an instant. It's like Charlie Brown trying to kick Lucy's football. It's like, it's, you know, I'm terrified. But I compensate for that in the winter. I have a whole other system for that. So that was to catch up to. Let's make it dramatic. Let's get it in there, and voila. Now they are this. You see, I wanted them to be like, you know, I was modeling them on ballerina shoes. These are, for lack of a better word, perfect. You see, let me get in on that. Let me just do it like this. Let me get in there on those toes. See, the same logic that I use. Here's the hand again. Let's put this here. If you notice, this was the reason why I do things in a certain order. See, the same logic that I use to make the fingers, the same. I call it logic rather than glove and shoe. This is not a shoe, and this is not a glove. This is hand logic made of exo-mesh, and this is foot logic, right? And the hand logic is perfect. The foot logic is perfect, and they're perfect because they can change immediately. I can take any part of this. I can take any part of this off, and I can put this here. I can take this. I can put this here. I can put anything anywhere it needs to be for it to be whatever I want it to be in the moment. So whatever might be perfect today is not necessarily going to be perfect tomorrow, right? So today it's perfect. So one of the things that's interesting is that, well, there's so much that's interesting. Because of the mesh, it conformed perfectly to my feet. I was climbing trees last night. It's great for that, except I have a little bit more to do there. But whereas this version had 7 sensors, this one has 30 per foot. I haven't wired these up yet. I wanted to show the design first. Mind you, again, one of the reasons I'm showing all of this is to just build a bit of interest in the ideas, because all of this shit gets posted at a certain point once the hands are able to type the paper about this. I don't think of this as a product. I don't think of this as something to sell. That's not interesting. There's way more interesting shit to sell. this is a precondition, right? So the I focused a lot on this, you know, being able to do this indefinitely. You see, this position of feet is very important for the next phase, right? So it's part training and part design, but it conforms very nicely to, let me see if I can get that right, to any foot, really, because it has to be built around the foot. It's not, that's why it's not a shoe. If you notice, there's no point where there's a shoe in there. There's no point where there's even a glove in there. There's only, in fact, I'll show you something that you might find interesting. You see that? See that heel? That is the same exact thing as the mask I made. Wait just a moment, I'll show you. Okay, so there's the mask I've been showing on YouTube, right? There's the mask with its filters and all of that. But if I take these off, if I take those off and I sit that up, you see that that is the exact same thing as that. You see, it's the same exact thing, the same size pieces and everything. So that is only a mask because I choose to put it on my face. I could take that exact thing and integrate it and use it as a heel if I wanted to. Or I could break it down and use it for anything else. It's all about the logic of how the exo mesh is put together around any part of the body. I don't design, you know, people will say to me, oh, you should use a laser scanner to scan your feet. That's not useful because you don't feel the scan. You're not feeling it. The pain that came from these designs are what inform this design. You see? Let's see, we'll just put them all here together like that. There's that. There's that. You see? There was pain that came from that design and that design that now give me a design that has no pain. I will have more to say about it once I've integrated the conductive parts into the sole. They're already there, as you can see, but these will be, each one of these will be sending a signal. Well, not each one. 8 of them will be sending signals to the computer, because I'm using an Arduino, so I'm only using 8 of the sensors, and I only really need 8 of them. These probably won't have accelerometers or anything in the outset. They'll just have, they'll just be the same as the finger sensing that's on the gloves. So I wanted to show these, and you're gonna be seeing these a lot over the next few weeks, next couple of weeks. And hopefully soon, as soon as I can get started writing the paper with the hand logic, the sooner I can go ahead and start putting this up online. But I'm also sharing it, let me just be honest, I also like to share this at such high resolution to say, hey, you know, you can see that there's a logic of geometries that lock together, and if you look at some of the other videos, you'll see the geometries that I've used. Recreate it. Feel free to recreate it. Do what you want to do with it, because I'm gonna do what I want to do. Trust. This is not the crazy shit yet. This is the precondition for the crazy shit. This is what makes the crazy shit possible. This is a story I'm telling slowly over time, so that when the crazy shit hits, it doesn't fuck you up too much. Trust. When I say that shit, I need you to know that there is a thing that I'm sensitive about, because I don't want, in the midst of all of this, something that's going to completely blow your mind in a way that isn't functionally useful to you and functionally useful to me and the trajectories that I want to explore over the next 3 months. 3 months. So, with that said, please be safe. Please, it's also one of the things I wanted to show this for is the importance of grounding. Grounding it helps reduce inflammation. So whenever possible, try to stand on the ground with your bare feet. You know, it might not seem like much, but I've used just that as part of my design, and it has changed my life in ways that I'll be sharing carefully and respectfully over the next few weeks, as to not try to present something that, oh, this is a cure for something. No, 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 we're not going to go there. This is something else. So I wanted to share the design and let you know that there's more coming, but I wanted to get this part out of the way because the next will be integrating the wiring and the sensing and the computers, and getting my and then starting with the patterning on the calves using the exo mesh that came from, this is just exo mesh from the previous exo feet. So I will be working on leg logic next. So live long and prosper. Peace.